Are you tired of watching shows that only give you general social media theory and expect you to figure out how to apply it to your own industry? Join us for this week's episode of Social Chatter, the industry's longest-running social media marketing news talk show. Not only will you learn the latest breaking news, but you'll also gain practical advice on how to apply it. Now here's your host, Christian Karasiewicz.
Welcome everyone to Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing news talk show. This is episode 294 with myself, Sarah Monroe, and a great repeat guest in Ramon Ray. Always love having him join us because, well, he brings so much energy and positivity. And so I want to say, Ramon, before we bring you on, I love having you join us. I mean, you're always a lot of fun to talk to and to hear from, and I love all the excitement and the energy you bring. So before we bring him up, I just want to give you all a quick rundown on the topics that we're going to be talking about this week. There's quite a few, actually, and we're going to talk a lot about Twitter, actually. But Twitter has a new service. It's called Twitter Blue. We're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about a new service called Tomorrow, which is actually part of a Twitter purchase or acquisition. We're also going to be talking about Twitter Spaces. They're finally starting to make some headway here. In addition to that, we've got a nice Facebook update, actually. If you're somebody who shares a lot of videos on Facebook, you're going to want to stick around for that. And then we've also got a great tool, but we've also got some great questions that we're going to talk with Ramon about shortly. So I'm going to go and bring on Sarah, and we're going to kick things off. So Sarah, it's great seeing you yet again.
Hey, great seeing you. Yet another new month. We're in a new month again. So
I know,
time flies.
Right?
I know, it's unbelievable. Time flies, social media news flies. But it's actually great right now that we seem to be in a fine-tuning stage, not huge announcements, but a fine-tuning stage, which I think is the perfect time to bring on a guest like Ramon Ray, because he's really talking to business owners about long-term strategy, about what to do now, but also what to do next. And to say that he inspires and educates small business owners, that's what his website, smarthustle.com, says, that we inspire and educate business owners. It's so much more than that. And what you said too was his energy. I mean, he's more than an educator. He's a coach. He's a trainer. He's a little bit of tough love, but a whole lot of positivity and getting small businesses started and growing.
Definitely. Yeah. And energy is key in small business because, it's something where, like, if you're doing this every single day by yourself, it takes a lot to keep yourself motivated. And that's where having a highly energetic person can really help you. So I'm going to go and bring on Ramon. We've had him on actually on a past episode, but Ramon, I'm going to bring you in and let's kick things off. So it's good seeing you.
Listen, do y'all do this intentionally? You throw all these accolades at someone, all these accolades, and they can't speak. It's like, usually it's done in the bad way. Like you're talking about, people are talking about you and you have to be silent. This is like, you're throwing all this love and I'm just in the green room like, thank you all. It's great to be here. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Christian. I'm so excited. While we were taking some time, I just told all my followers, hey, I'm alive on Social Chefs. So thank you all for having me here and excited to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. Did Sarah do a good job of covering everything about you? Is there anything you want to add?
Not at all, except just to say I'm happy to be here. And as Sarah said, that is my number one thing we love to do, inspire and educate small business owners. And I think I say that, Christian and Sarah, because, I know this is about social, but I'll just riff on one thing for 10 seconds, just that I've struggled with being content. And, and ironically, as all three of us are kind of, I'm assuming, somewhat overt, like we speak and all that, but I have my own hidden doubts, like I'm not good enough, or wow, look at Christian, look at Sarah. But I've had to dial down in the last year. My gift is this. I'll stop there, but I just wanted to say you're so true. That's my gift.
Fantastic. Yeah. So I'm going to turn it back over to Sarah. Sarah, where are we kicking things off? What are we starting off with today?
Well, let's kick off with Twitter Blue, which is the paid subscription service for Twitter. We've heard a little bit about this, a little bit of rumblings over the last few weeks that Twitter was going to go to a paid subscription service. We know that many of the social media platforms need to have some more diversity in their revenue stream. And so this is where Twitter Blue is going to make that play. It's going to be an in-app purchase. I got to say, I tried it. I've tested it. I've been searching for it. I don't have it yet. But it's going to bring some really interesting new tools for the subscription people. One is an undo tweet. I got to say, I don't know what the difference between undo tweet and delete tweet is going to be, but they are promoting it out there. What it is going to do is allow more bookmarks. So this will be a way to curate more information. So especially if you're a reporter or you're a researcher, this is going to be a great way to create these custom lists and bookmarks of different content. So this is really a monetization move by Twitter. And we've seen them do a little bit of other things with tickets for Twitter Spaces, with their super followers, their tip jar. So this is the next natural move for Twitter, especially since they've also acquired things like Scroll. A few weeks ago, we talked about Scroll. That will be sort of this custom news page that you can create for your website. So Twitter Blue is coming, and people are seeing it pop up. I've seen tweets from the UK. Looks like UK costs are going to be $249 UK, and then $299 US. So that's Twitter Blue.
So what do you guys think about this? I mean, so it's roughly going to be $3 a month. It's going to give you very likely an undo tweet option, bookmark folders, and reader mode. What do you think about this? I mean, I like all the acquisitions Twitter's been doing. I see how this fits together with all of that, but what do you think? Would you pay $3, assuming this is $3 a month, to Twitter for these kinds of features? What do you think, Ramon?
Well, first, let me ask a question to dispel a myth or a misconception.
Sure.
Does this come with, or is this part of what I thought I read, but again, you're talking to a guy who scans like very fast, that I can get some sort of blue mark or some distinction? So real quick, yes or no on that. Does it come with something like that? Did I read that right?
There's going to be something.
Okay.
It's not going to be the verification check mark, though.
Right.
So let's be clear. And who knows, if you subscribe to Twitter Blue, will you get ahead of the line as far as verification goes?
Right.
No one knows. But
so here's my 2 cents, then my answer then to Christian. Thank you for that, Sarah. My answer then is that if I had to bet, and I don't mind putting my foot in my mouth, we can talk about this in 6 months. I think it's going to tank and not do well. That's my 2 cents. Here's why I say it. I don't know if those features are enough because there's so many other curation tools, Chrome and all these things. So $3 a month, I just don't think it's enough. Now, the platform we're on, adding, the live stream and all that, adding different things to make it productivity better. But Twitter, do I need more bookmarks? But I asked it, Sarah, because for the blue check mark, or it's like flying, right? Mm-hmm. For those of us, flying is open to all. Mm-hmm. But if Christian wants to pay an extra $500 to have a red limousine pick him up at the tarmac, great. So for me, if that blue check mark or something like that Ramon could be up there, yes, I'd pay $20 a month for that. So that's why I asked.
Right. It's sort of like the LinkedIn Premium, right? The LinkedIn Premium membership. So I think there's a lot of chatter about the whole undo feature. And the thing is, the undo feature is not going to be the edit feature.
No.
And that's what people have been wanting. But the problem with having a edit button on Twitter is that tweets can fly so fast, so quickly that people aren't going to go back and see, is that tweet that I retweeted been edited? Like they can. Facebook makes it really clear when something is edited. Instagram, not so much, but there's not the sharing that you can do on Instagram. So Twitter, I think they're going to stay firm and never create the edit tweet button. But I guess the undo is so that you can't embed it. I'm not really sure.
Good point. But for me, that's my vote. And Christian, by the way, what's your answer, Christian? I know you're the host. You and Sarah are the host, but what's your answer? I gave mine. I'm curious. But the summary is I'm all about paid things. If it gives me an edge, like professionally, and or if it makes my life easier. But I think for Twitter, it's just such a common tool. Let's put it that way, meaning we have so many hacks for it. They should have done that kind of stuff like 10 years ago or 50 years ago, whenever it launched. That's the kind of thing I need. Now. Bookmarking, really,
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If it's going to give me that blue check, if it's going to give me and let's make sure we're right on this. So like, if it's going to give me the verification badge, that blue check mark that, is hard to get, then it would be awesome. I'd pay $3 easily for that. If it's going to give me something to the effect of, for example, if it's going to give me like an undo button, like I don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
no, I
But
don't
let's
care about an undo button.
let's talk about it layered though, Christian, because
Yeah.
you talked a lot about the interest of the scroll feature and how you would like to see some kind of Twitter scroll on a web page and how that would be
Mhm.
valuable. Think about layering Twitter scroll with
Yep.
Twitter Blue and what that could mean for these curated pages of content on a website.
And there's also a tool called Review as well that
Mhm.
Twitter also purchased, which is a subscription model for some additional features. So for $3 a month right now, I'd say probably not. But I also don't anticipate this would ever get to be like $10 a month. Who's going to pay $10 a month? Unless, as Ramon put it, which I really like how you put that, by the way, that if it gives you an edge,
Mhm.
because that's the thing. Everybody's always thinking, oh, well, I buy the tool, but they're not thinking what's giving me the edge over my competitors. It's the person that's not going to spend, for example, let's say it's Canva. They're not going to spend $10 a month on Canva because they don't want to spend $10 a month. They don't think they should spend $10 a month, but they're being short-sighted and not thinking about, for example, the long-term value that that tool can provide and save them in time to give them an edge. So I love the fact that you put, this is all about getting you an edge. I don't think for $3 a month, though, an undo tweet button, bookmark folders, and reader mode is really going to be my thing. I already subscribe to, for example, like Feedly and sites like that.
Exactly.
So, and that's what, like, that's $40, $45 maybe a year. So
Mhm.
I'm looking at, a little more than $3. And so
Now, Christian,
not doing it for me. Yeah.
one other thing to add there now, unless, and again, you let me know whenever you want to, if I'm getting too deep here in the weeds, but unless they start closing APIs and I'm getting slightly out of my edge, I can talk Sarah enough to pretend that I know what I'm saying. But, if you talk a little more like in the spy movies, oh, yes, I'm Dr. So-and-so. Great, Ramon, fix the arm. So meaning, but the point I'm trying to get at is that if they do stuff like that, hey, we're going to close all this open access, like all these cool tools and startups have. Now Christian has nowhere to go, meaning if too much. So that's where it gets kind of like LinkedIn. I think they're pretty close. Like I know some friends of mine who own some of the CRM tools are like, Ramon, no, we can't do this anymore. Like a few years ago, LinkedIn closed some stuff. Only LinkedIn could provide it. Now that's a different story.
Right. Right.
And I think that's a really good point, actually. Yeah. So if they did close some of that off, then it would mean that some of these tools wouldn't be able to necessarily function. For example, if it's, and I'm wondering, Sarah, and I don't have anything else I want to add on Twitter Blue, except for the fact that it's coming. You may have this, you may start to see it, for example, in your mobile device's app store. But Sarah, I'm actually wondering if this plays into maybe the second topic that we also wanted to share this week.
It does. It does. And what comes to mind for me is that Twitter's always wanted to be that town square and is making moves with other things about sharing misinformation and alerts with that they are trying to be reputable as far as they are with opening and sharing information, because so many social movements have been amplified because of Twitter. Which leads us to tomorrow, not the day, but the actual the web app. So tomorrow is advertising itself as a weather application. And Christian, when you brought this up, I was like, why do we need another weather app? And why am I going to pay for this? But it is so much more. This is about climate change and environmental justice. So with your tomorrow subscription, you will get an email every day that gives you the weather, which is put together by a local meteorologist. So they're presumably paying meteorologists for their time too. It's going to have a little bit of news, a poem, a meme, something fun, and then they said joy, which I think we all need right now, and I would certainly subscribe to a little bit of joy. But it looks like what it's doing is combining local social justice information with climate change information to really spur advocacy and what they're saying a shared tomorrow. So it's a really interesting move by Twitter to get into this environmental justice community that they're calling Tomorrow. So I'm really excited about it. But you all know that I come from a nonprofit background and advocacy background. I love to see social media giving us tools where we can get out there, be advocates for the things that we care about, and sort of amplify issues that we think are really important. And certainly climate change is one of those for everybody around the world.
Definitely. Yeah. What do you think about this, Ramon?
I think it's interesting. I think that, again, how do I say this? For me, I'm not personally the type of person. Now, I care about the world for sure, but I'm not the type of person that says, let me get a cup of coffee and then ask, where was this made? Who made it? Is it environmentally sustainable? Now, Sarah is. So what I'm trying to get at is that half the world, or I would say a quarter of the world, probably cares very deeply. And I think definitely the political discourse, things are going. So in essence, I think it's a smart move. My point being, though, I think it's just, let's realize that everybody is not something we'll jump into, if that makes sense. And Sarah, I know you know what I mean. I'm saying that just we're on a show here.
Yeah.
Meaning, I personally am like, it's just me. I go put my clothes in the cleaner. I get gas in my car. I'm just not the advocate type. And so I think that Twitter's smart because they know their audience, and there's a segment of people like Sarah, maybe you, Christian, that will jump all over it. So, you know what? It's a free country. Go for it. Let's save the world as best we can. And I'm grateful for people who don't want to put trash bags down the nose of dolphins. That's a great thing.
I think it's going to be more than that too. And they're starting with a few cities. So you can apply to get your city on the list, quote unquote, on the list. And Ramon, you don't know about this. Know this about me, but I live in the Northeast. I live mostly in Vermont. So, you know, I'm sort of in there and in that advocacy part. And I do put gas in my car, but I also think, how can I save some mileage, right? Or how can I use the right tires to make my car more fuel efficient or something like that? So I think it's going to be really interesting. I think it's a great play for younger generations too. I think, you know, millennials and Gen Zs are really attuned to this. This is something that was part of their education, their elementary education, and their future. So I'm really interested to see what tomorrow will bring. Pun on words. I gotta say, I never mean the puns that come out of my mouth like that.
Well, Sarah, let me ask you a follow-up, Sarah. Do you think that tomorrow will buy Monday.com, or do you think that Monday.com may buy tomorrow?
There's a Tuesday brand out there too. So, you know, who knows? Who knows what will follow?
And maybe they'll all be featured on Good Day New York or something.
Maybe.
I think we're taking this way too far now, Christian.
Everybody loves a good pun. You can't be in social media if you don't love a good pun. Come on.
This is pretty fantastic. Yeah. So here's the thing. I think this is a good idea. Do you guys have any concerns, I guess, with the fact that, you know, that they're tying into it's sort of positioning it as a weather service, but it's more than a weather service? Like, does that feel misleading at all to you?
I can see that. Yes, I can see that. But again, you know, if it's explained, but I guess I tend to trust bigger companies. Ironically, maybe we shouldn't say that, but meaning I would think Twitter's smart enough. They've crossed their I's, dotted their T's, and it's tongue-in-cheekish. Unlike, say, a spammer, download the weather app and it's really a virus. So I would I demarcate between tongue-in-cheek, being cute, and you kind of read through it like Sarah helped us understand. But you're right. I can see many people, a weather app. It's more than that, but I don't know if it was done deceptively versus cute. Right.
I think they're really transparent about what they are. And think about it like the skim. And you all may not be in the same gender demographic for the skim or how the skim started, but they said it's a daily news feed for women, right? But it's a lot more than that. It's pop culture, it's lifestyle, it's women's issues, and it's not just a daily newsletter. So I'm excited about tomorrow. I think it's going to be a really interesting play on getting more people excited about being advocates and learning more about climate change.
My favorite channel on the Skim, Sarah, I follow religiously the hairstyle section of the Skim every morning. That's my favorite, what I look at. That's just my go-to place.
I know how long it takes this to dry. I can only imagine for you, Ramon.
That's what I'm saying.
I love how we always incorporate some humor as well into the show. So, Sarah, turn it over to you.
Number 3, we're staying on Twitter for a little bit today. So Twitter Spaces, we talked about Twitter Spaces. This is their audio room. So this is Twitter's answer to Clubhouse, if you want to use that analogy. It's been on the app. We actually demonstrated that on a show, 3 weeks ago, I want to say, Christian, right? We actually,
a while, yeah.
Yeah, we actually walked through and demoed how Twitter Spaces work. And what they're doing now is they're bringing it to the web. Again, I tried to find this last night. It's not on there now, but I'm just hoping, because I have Twitter open, that the bots will give it to me. But this will allow you to jump into Spaces, listen to Spaces, hopefully host Spaces on your desktop, which is, for a lot of us, trying to look at a big screen and a little screen all day can get tiresome. So it's interesting to see how more social media platforms are trying to get you more onto the desktop. And I'm wondering with this play too, because there's going to be ticketed Twitter Spaces, that you won't have the App Store fees if you do purchases for Twitter Spaces too.
Excellent point. Yeah. And so I don't have Spaces yet on desktop, but I like this. I mean, I like the direction Twitter's going with Spaces, that they're making it accessible. Not just, they're starting with the mobile device, but then they're moving you into the desktop. I love the idea of putting Twitter Spaces on desktop. It makes so much sense. I think people are going to be more like, if somebody's working from home, for example, they're going to have they're going to be plugged into their computer, for example, and they're able to then listen to Spaces, have some sort of window open, versus, if I'm on my computer and I need to put headphones on there, and then I have to be on my phone. It kind of makes it a little hard to actually to do that, seeing how you need a couple pairs of headphones. And then the fact that I think ease of use, I think desktop's going to be a little bit better. So,
right. And remember, the biggest complaint about Clubhouse is the audio. So if it's on desktop, we can all use our great microphones, right? We can use the great audio that we've already invested in and can sound better to the people who follow us.
Definitely. Yeah.
No, for sure. I like it. I mean, I think audio overall is growing for sure. And I didn't know if I could use the CH word here. I don't know if that'd be wrong, but since somebody mentioned the CH word, I'll just say it too. Clubhouse, that's my other angle for this. I'm wondering, will at some point Clubhouse close and burn because Facebook, Twitter, the giants are doing it, or will they be bought by someone, or will they grow? That's just my interest, in this whole space, because Twitter's already there and mature product. Adding audio, because I'm guessing you all know the numbers better than me, but I'm guessing behind the frothiness of audio that Clubhouse has. So that's my thing. But I think for sure audio's taking off. And I think it's only going to be great. And especially there's a whole nother community. As we know, right? We're doing a live video show here, but video, I had to think about, what shirt am I going to wear? Does my light look good? And of course, as I said already, Sarah, my hair, that's the number one thing I think about. Spaces or audio, don't have to worry about it at all. So I like it. I think it's going to grow, and kudos to Twitter. I think all these things that I'm saying, or maybe breathing new life into Twitter, and they're throwing a bit of spaghetti against a wall. I don't know. I'm just guessing, but I think it's all good for us. We benefit.
Yeah, I think Spaces makes a lot of sense, whole lot of sense for Twitter. I think that the fact that they're acquiring a lot of these other companies as well, moving into subscription model, makes a lot of sense, actually, because, as Sarah alluded to earlier, a lot of these platforms need to find a way to diversify their revenue streams, and they're generating most of their revenue off of ad dollars. And I hope they've realized that ads don't work. Most people are so over ads, so that, I think that a monthly subscription would make the most sense for Twitter. Now, the key thing, obviously, is if somebody's going to be willing to pay for it, because, hey, you know what? They're getting stuff for free. But I do like the fact that they could add a feature set there and potentially keep those users on the platform. But I do like the resurgence of Twitter, 100%.
Right. And we're seeing a lot more play on desktop too. I mean, look at what Instagram has been doing over the last 2 or 3 months, and letting you do more things on desktop, and potentially even more you can do publishing through Facebook Creator Studio. We're also seeing some things on, I think it's TikTok too, or is TikTok preview only on the app? thinking it's only on the app. So I take that back. But they are trying to recognize that people are on desktop more. If you are in email marketing, I used to see my open rates on mobile creep up over 50, jumping to 60%. But over the last 18 months, which means it's not just pandemic related, the desktop has taken off again. So I think people want to use their mobile devices more personally, especially as we're going into summer too. And so having these options on desktop is going to be really, really important.
And wouldn't it make sense? I'm curious, Sarah, that maybe, and again, hypothetical here, but a lot of this is for agencies and us people who do this. I'm guessing, meaning there's kind of two worlds. There's the consumer, metaphorically, my wife or my daughter, others, my son, who are just chilling in cat videos. But I'm sure there's this big segment of people who are using it and spending the money that need the desktop. They need the user access. I'm talking to some of the people I work with. Ramon, get us on Clubhouse. I'm like, no, I can't get you on Clubhouse. You haven't invested the time to build your profile and use it. I can't, unlike Facebook, right? You can bring an executive right here. They don't have to have any profile and showcase them. But some of these apps, you have to have your own personal growth. So to your point, Sarah, I think the desktop of any of these versions enables the admin, the team, the agency to shine the light on a third party.
Right. And it lets you get a presence on another platform too. Like right now, we could be in a Twitter space and we're live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook. So we could be really capitalizing on our time and having these different options for people to reach us where they are. And that's the whole point of digital media, right? Is to be where the audience is.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
So,
okay. So I think we got time for one more topic, right?
One more topic. So, all right,
so
I'm going to flip a coin. I'm going to say, let's just stick with Twitter, and Twitter's going to start adding emojis and reactions to comments. So I think you have I think right now they're testing 3 different reactions. There's a ha, there might be a celebrate, and the third one is escaping me, but it looks like Twitter's going to have more than just the heart.
Sad, haha, from what I'm seeing here. Sad, haha, cheer, likes, maybe. That was
Right. So Twitter is going the route of Facebook and LinkedIn. Let's not forget LinkedIn has had reactions for quite a while, right? It's got to be 2 or 3 years that LinkedIn has had reactions. So just giving a little more opportunity for engagement for people to share a little more of a reaction. Again, keeping people interested in Twitter and moving around with it. And I am hearing an awful echo.
Yeah, we did start to get your echo actually. So no, definitely. Yeah. What do you think about this, Ramon, while Sarah fixes her audio here?
Yeah. And I want to mute as well, just in case it was me. But if it's me, let me know. I'll mute myself too.
No, you're good. No,
I like it. I mean, there's nothing worse than saying train crashed in California and all you can do is do like. I mean, hello. Yeah. So I think that's for sure. Nobody wants to do that. Sarah's like, hey, I'm not feeling so well today. Or I say it. And Christian only can do like. I mean, no, he wants to do sad to affirm that because we are in an emoji generation. Thumbs up, thumbs down. That's the world.
Right. So from a business standpoint, do you think these are, or Twitter reactions going to be useful? What do you think?
I think so. I like it. I think so. I mean, again, these are small little social things that I think that help. It's overwhelming. It's inundated, but I think yes. I think the more Twitter can keep up with its competition and allow us to emotions are important. We've all sent that email where I said, "Hey, Christian, okay," and he sends me a 5,000 word essay back. Just okay, Ramon? Am I fired? Did you not like it? I'm like, dude, no. I was running and I just said okay. I loved it. So emotions help with that, So I think that's where it's going.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
And we're using it more in our everyday life, right? We even have emojis and bios, right? So it's a language that we're using online right now. Will we not like it in 2 or 3 years? Maybe, but for right now, it is something that is relevant and speaks in that language of digital media.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I mean, if there's certain things that these platforms need to copy from others, reactions is one of those. Like there are some of these core features that, you know what, you need to have the ability to reply to things differently. Now, granted, would I love for people to actually reply to the tweet or quote the tweet or things like that? Yes, of course I would. That's going to be that, and a retweet is much more important than a like or a haha or whatever. However, the other benefit to this is you can use the data you're gathering in your tweets. So for example, if you notice that a certain tweet gets a lot, I mean, granted, there's only like one sad one here, I guess. But you know, if it gets like sad, for example, versus like cheer, for example, like you can kind of figure out, well, okay, there's obviously something specific here going on. Sad might mean they don't like this, which might tell me then that, okay, I need to actually maybe change up my tweet. The thing I think people are going to have to keep in mind here is that you're not going to want to be just like automatically sharing out a ton of content. You want to have stuff that has purpose behind it. So you are going to have to think a little bit more about your tweets if you see something that, you know, comes across as negative. But I like the fact that they're coming up with these Twitter reactions. I mean, again, it's a good feature to borrow.
Absolutely. For sure. I love it.
Right.
So anything else? Do we have anything else we want to talk about, Sarah?
There's one other thing, we'll talk about it in the blog, is that Facebook is going to allow you to embed video at a start time. So this is something that YouTube is let you do forever. But now Facebook is allowing you to do that so that you can emphasize one part of a video, maybe reshare. This is a great way to reshare the same content, but to say, hey, here's what I thought about this part, and here's where you can have it play right from the start. So no video editing, no clip editing. You can just have it play where you want it to start playing.
And that's going to go out in the blog post recap, by the way, which will be over the weekend at socialchefs.com/SC294. So if you go there right now, it's not going to work, but it will be out very likely tomorrow, actually. So with that, I want to turn it over to you, Sarah. Like, I know we wanted to talk with Ramon. We had some questions for him. Obviously, want to get to know him a little bit better. Or we want you to get to know him a little bit better. So turn it over to you, Sarah.
Sure. So Ramon, we know we've followed you. And if anybody doesn't follow Ramon yet, I would say run, don't walk to start following him right now. But we wanted to talk a little bit about branding, personal branding, business branding, because that's someplace where you are right now. And especially, it looks like a lot of the content and conferences that you're doing right now is having an emphasis on building a strong position as we come out of a pandemic, especially for people who may be solopreneurs or freelancers or job changers. And they see this as the time to start a business or to grow the business that they've had. So let's start with a really easy question, Ramon. And that is, what is a personal brand?
I love it. Great question. That is an easy question. Thank you so much. I think, listen, I'll juxtapose personal branding versus corporate branding. Corporate branding, many of us can guess the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. That's the corporate brand, a car, a vehicle, something that's inanimate oftentimes, these big billion-dollar companies to some degree. The personal brand, it's Sarah, it's Christian, it's me, it's you. As very, very small business owners, our face often represents who we are, what products and services we're selling. So that is what the personal brand is all about. How can we use our personhood? How can we use who we are to build up community, to build up followers, and et cetera, to generate awareness about the products and services, the solutions we have for our customers. But that's the aspect of that personal brand, using ourself to represent and to get attention for and to build a relationship for our business.
Okay, so here's a question that I am asked every single workshop that I teach with small business owners is, do I use a business brand name or do I just use my name? Especially when you're a solopreneur or you're just starting out, you're known in your market for who you are and your name, and people find you that way. So is it worth, so two-part question, is it worth promoting both brands, and how would you get started?
Sure. Here's the simple answer of that without hearing, of course, from 100 different people, 100 different scenarios. But I think that the main thing to understand and consider is this. As small businesses, we are oftentimes too small to split who we are. So my advice for most everybody is to say, you be Sarah and your business and rock it like that, if that makes sense. Because I just don't think we have the bandwidth to say, I'm Ramon over here and Smart Hustle over here. So for me, Sarah, I'll tell you my playbook, what I do. Yes, there is smarthustle.com, the company. There's Ramon Ray, who's part of Smart Hustle and a speaker and an author and etc. But both in one are pretty much the same, Sarah. It's just too much bandwidth, too much time for me to be tweeting, hey, I'm Ramon Ray, the speaker. Ignore this stuff over here. And then I'm Smart Hustle, this trying to pretend to be a global conglomerate when it's really about Ramon and a small team of people. So I hope that's helped. But I'm often asked that question as well. And I think that you should combine them, because I find what you do, you take away from the two of them. So why not have Ramon and Smart Hustle, Sarah and your brands, and Christian and Social Chef together and put that out? Yes, you can be two distinct platforms, but the essence is most of us are one and the same and feeding from each other, arguably speaking.
Right. And so how about those of us who are lucky to have a team? Right. Yeah. Those we have folks who watch this too that are working for bigger companies, bigger brands, maybe some agency play. So, and it's always the worst question that we have to ask as content marketers: what's happening? Share a story. But what are your hot tips for getting engagement for the larger companies to tell that brand story and do that promotion?
Absolutely. And so to be very clear, so that very small business who's the owner of the company, referring to them, kind of blend your brand, your corporate brand together. Now, for those of you who are working for a larger company, I totally get that's a different dilemma, because at some point you may leave or whatever it is. So here's a few things that I would do. One, let's say I'm working for Big Red Cup brand and I'm working in their marketing team, whatever. If you wish, it's okay to wake up in the morning and on the corporate YouTube page, on the corporate, hey, I'm Ramon Ray with Red Cup brand. I drink Red Cup coffee every single morning. You should too. That kind of thing. It's on the corporate page, etc. Because here's the problem that happens. If I want to work for a competitor or I go to another company, through my personal channels, I've been representing Red Cup brand. So in those cases, those who work for the company, you can still use your personal brand, your God-given talents of who you are, and still promote the brand, but through more the corporate channels. That's what I would say. But I would be very careful to add on to that. Never take your personal channels unless you're thinking about it thoroughly and do something that you would regret. Like, since this is personal, I can say, F this person or screw that or whatever it is. Be careful of that if I've helped answer that question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we're seeing what's happening with reporters and different corporate social media policies, there's a lot of chatter actually this week, in fact, with BuzzFeed, NPR, New York Times, Washington Post publishing their social media policies for their staff. And so I think it's important to know that no matter what you do reflect on your employer too. And of course, we get into First Amendment rights and free speech and all of that, but I think it's important to know that things on the internet live forever. And like you said, Ramon, you may not be at the Red Cup company forever, but your next employer may want to see or will see what you posted about the Red Cup company while you were there. And would you be a brand ambassador or a brand influencer? No, we can almost think of staff and on the nonprofit side, volunteers and board members as our influencers, just like the big brands have. Our staffs, our people can be those ambassadors for the next group of people who are coming in, or to show customers what it's like behind the scenes.
Absolutely. I think it's powerful. You're right. And I think part of it's awareness. So I think we're talking about, what I'm hearing, Sarah, is two types of people. There's the small business owner that they themselves own the company. That's the personal brand. I talk about that in my book, Celebrity CEO, Building a Fan Base, Building Community, Ask for a Smile Before a Sale, things like that. That's one type of the personal branding, being the celebrity CEO of your industry. So that's that. And for indeed, the social chefs community we have who work for a company, Ramon, I don't own the company. I may be here today, may not be. That's where you can still rock your personal image, rock who you are, your talents, and represent the company, but just think twice before you start to build up on your private channel representing the corporate brand. That's where it can get dicey for you. You're benefiting the brand, but for yourself, be careful.
Right. So what would you say right now? We're starting the summer. Things tend to slow down a little bit. What would you say for business owners or entrepreneurs? What's something that you do right now for June and July? Is it planning season? Is it really pushing out more content? What is your advice for this season right now in building your personal brand?
Yeah, a few different things I can say, but I think that if you had to do it right now, I'll talk to two different people. For those of you who've not started on this journey of building your personal brand, assuming you have the corporate website, all the things corporate-ish, blah, 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 blah. Maybe yours is not quite like that, but start off with launching something regular, whether it's Clubhouse, Twitter Spaces, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is, I won't get into, and you can look at Social Chefs, probably many episodes to help you with that. But the point is, start out just doing something regular. Every week at Thursday at 2 p.m., we're going to do X. Or every day at 5 p.m. for 20 minutes, we're going to do an Ask Me Anything. So do something regular and get yourself out there on the personal side to benefit your business, or if you want, just to corporately. Now, for those who've not done, for those who've already doing this, second thing I would suggest, Sarah, and there's so many suggestions, I look for it if you want to add any of your own, but I would say for those who are already doing it, see how you can fine tune it. Maybe you've been doing a regular podcast and just throwing the audio right up there. Maybe you should be taking time to do it one of many providers who can transcribe it or do a blog post, as you all do at Social Chefs, to extend it a bit more. Maybe you decide to do some better imagery. So how can you just take it up a notch and make it a bit better?
Mm-hmm. I love that. When you and I were speaking, I think in the green room, about pushing out content and just staying energized about it, being consistent is so very important. And for those who have been consistent, taking it up a notch, I think is the greatest advice too. And I've already started a list of what to do personally, just in those 60 seconds, what to do personally as far as being more consistent, but also fine tuning some things that I do with clients that I represent too. So if you haven't followed Ramon yet, everybody watching, follow Ramon, because this is just a small taste of his energy and ideas.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Great to be here. I'm glad you'll have me with you today for sure. And listen, it's great to be here. And I think, Sharon, I learned from you all here. I learned some tools, and I was thinking too, doing some mental note taking, how can I use some of these tools to grow my own business? Because we can all learn, right? I mean, even the best of us. Christian's a baller on social. Christian was probably using Twitter before Twitter was created. But we can all learn.
Exactly.
I will say, we got some really good comments, by the way, that came in as well from a couple of viewers here. We got LTMW saying, hey, it's tough for folks that have a full day job that's unrelated to their part-time side hustle projects. Keeping the two separate is important. Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely. Do you have any advice for that, Ramon?
Yeah, one, NLTMW, just because you put the word hustle in there, I will send you a copy of my book, Celebrity CEO. Just DM me, no matter where you are in the world. And he's probably going to say, Ramon, I'm flying to Russia tomorrow, so mail it there, and it'll cost me $100. But wherever you are, just DM me, reach out to Christian or Sarah. They can connect you with me. I'd love to send it to you. But I think it is hard. And I think that by the way, I used to work at the United Nations, NLTMW, and I got fired from the UN. In large part, because I had my own business, and they said no, and I didn't stop, and I got fired. I had permission to do it, but then the permission was taken away. So it is tough to do a full-time job on a side project. So here's my advice: give all you can and rock that full-time job. Be a great servant, as it were, in a good way, in that business. Succeed. That's one. Two, see how you can bring your expertise of the side hustle possibly into the full-time job. Can you somehow say, you know what? I'm an expert at wallpapering. I do it on the side. I have a YouTube video. Hey, boss. Hey, Christian. Hey, Sarah. Could I just do some wallpapering? Whatever. So that's two. Mm-hmm. And you may not be able to. But then three, don't get close to the line and get fired. But how can you still do that part-time fulfillment outside? And I know it's tough, especially if there's ground rules. It's hard for Sarah, right? Hey, I have a puppet company on the side. And Christian's like, Sarah, we don't allow that at Social Chefs, or vice versa. You get what I mean? But if you can do it. So I hope that wasn't confusing advice. But one, be the best person you can at your current company. Two, see how you can bring your outside expertise to the current company. Three, build your side gig. Build it. And maybe it's a hobby and it'll stay there as a side, or you're growing it into a full-time hustle. I can talk about this for the next 6 hours, but something's telling me, Ramon, this is not a side hustle show. This is a Social Chef show. So I'll stop there.
No, it's excellent advice. Yeah. And I mean, I think the key thing you just mentioned earlier that I think is really important is you mentioned, like, if somebody wants to get started, like, start doing more or a little bit more than you're already doing now. And then, see where that goes. Like, you don't have to go don't have to go 5,000% into it, but start doing it, start testing the waters, see what works, what doesn't work, and find that common ground. Like if you never put anything out, like it's like putting boats into the water. Like if you never put anything out into the water, you're never going to figure out, okay, like how do I keep this boat from hitting this boat? Like, I have to adjust certain things here and there. So, same concept here. I mean, just start testing a few things, see what, works, what doesn't. And then once you actually feel like you're at the point where you get plenty of traction on it, then you can decide, hey, I'm going to dock that boat and I'm only going to use this one in the water. So, but excellent advice and points about, building obviously a personal brand. And I love the fact that you said, they kind of actually take away from one another if you're small enough, because it's you're small and you're splitting it. You're actually reducing the size of things, and that's not actually good. You want to actually increase the size of things. So, so I really like the example there you gave, because a lot of people, they just, they cut and cut and cut and cut to where, like, it's a pie, to the point where now everybody's got this tiny little sliver, and your little tiny sliver is not going to grow because, you have this tiny, tiny, tiny little sliver because you've cut it so many times and reduced it. So,
right.
Is there time, Christian, for me to add one more thing? Is there time for me to add one more thing?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yes, I want to say that going back to the slicing, that works in a few different ways, to the advertising, branding, and marketing taking away. But I think also just wanted to touch on the money. I hear a lot of young entrepreneurs, the big coaches say I should diversify my revenue stream. We should have 7 revenue streams. So Ramon, I'm making $20 a year selling pens. I'm making, $5 a year selling water. I'm like, dude, lady, just sell pens and make one big check for now. So I just wanted to add that people think this diversity of revenue means 10 different streams making, $1 each. No, if you're doing that, you might as well do one stream making $100,000. So I just wanted to add that, if that's helpful.
Nope. Excellent point, actually. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move into tool time, right, Sarah?
We are moving into tool time, and it's interesting that we're talking about revenue, because this is a revenue tool, especially we didn't plan it, but it looks like we did. But it's great for people who are just getting out. We are looking today at Buy Me a Coffee. So if you've heard of Patreon, there's something called Patreon. There's Ko-fi, Ko.fi, which sounds kind of like the Buy Me a Coffee. Yeah. There's Tip Jar, and there's Tip Jar, and then there's Twitter Tip Jar. 2 different things. But we also have Facebook Stars, YouTube Super Chat, all of these different ways to send a little bit of money to the creators that you love. So Buy Me a Coffee is a different tool. I have to say, I actually set up a profile on Buy Me a Coffee to see how it works. And I have to say the rates are a little bit better than Patreon and Ko-fi. Don't know about Twitter Tip Jar yet, because I haven't gotten that as an option to test out. But Buy Me a Coffee is a really simple profile that you put together. It's easier than even a Twitter or an Instagram profile. It connects through Stripe. So Stripe is the payment processor, which means if you already have a Stripe account, you can link it up in just a few minutes. But honestly, to set up a Stripe account took me about 8 minutes, and half of that time was searching for the routing number for my bank, right? So super simple to start up. I have to say, I actually implemented something like this with a client this week. She's starting a blog and eventually wants to move to a subscription program. But for right now, this is a way for her to add a little tip. If people liked what they consumed, she just encourages them to send her a few dollars in exchange for the content or whatever they got out of what they just read from her. She's a writer, so it's a blog that she's putting out there. But we've seen this going on, this little tip, the Tip Jar, for online creators. And I think this is a great little tool that you can embed on your website. And I have to say, as a nonprofit fundraiser, the call to action at the end of most of the blogs or a free website, a free workshop on our YouTube channel is if you liked this, make a donation. So this is the same concept. If you like this, buy me a coffee, or you can actually change it. It's kind of fun. You can say, buy me a pizza, or buy me a bagel, or buy me a book, just to show your your personality and some of the micro content that's on this tool. So, oh, and someone's saying you can use PayPal instead of Stripe. Yeah.
So what do you think about this, Ramon? Have you checked this one out before? What's your initial thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, that's a new tool for me. So I love coming to Social Chefs because you can see cool tools like this. But the principle, as you mentioned, Sarah, Patreon and things like this, I love it. And I must say also, I think there's the nonprofit element of it. That's one. But I would even say shows like this, not because Christian or Sarah per se need it, but to test and say, hey, if you like this tip, click down below, buy us a coffee and send us $5 or whatever, if that's the essence of it. So I think that even for other things, because listen, we're talking about monetization of content. And there's many people who just can't get sponsors, maybe like Ramon has done. That's one of my fortes, working with big brands. It's tough to do. But I think that everybody, especially, right, that 80-20 rule, that guy, Petreo, whatever his name was, famous Greek guy or wherever he was from. The principle, Partho's principle, 80-20 rule, most people, they're not going to pay you or donate to you, but 20%, they're going to hit that ka-ching. So I like it. I think it's powerful. And I think everybody should consider it and test it for sure.
Right. It's free. It's free to use. Buy Me a Coffee. Some of the others, there is a monthly fee to it. But yeah, it's basically you're paying for the credit card fees, which you'd have to pay for anyway.
Yeah. And so I just want to pull this up. Like Adam said, hey, he struggles with asking his viewers to help support his channel. Buy Me Coffee is good. He said he did get whacked on, 70 cents on a $5 tip. But here's the thing. For starters, you didn't really have the money anyway because somebody gave you $5. I'm assuming that's the way it was. So somebody gave you $5. Company does have to keep, a percentage of that. If you kind of think of it like this as well, I'm just going to throw out a restaurant example. Like, so for example, at most restaurants, you're splitting tips. So for example, if let's say I went to a restaurant and Ramon gave me as a tip, he said, hey, here's $10. That $10 doesn't necessarily go to me. I might get $5 out of it, and some of it might go to Sarah, for example, and $2 might go to someone else within the restaurant. So it's more than I had versus, granted is, 70 cents on that. But it's more than I had. And I think at the same time, we also need to be appreciative of that sort of thing as well.
Right. And if you want the whole $5, then you can build a payment processing system and a widget and, and right, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars to build.
And I totally get that thought, sir. I love that the spirit that we're saying this, because I think we understand fees and all this, but I guess, and we're not, so whoever posted that, nothing dinging to you, but I work at many small businesses, and I'm sure you, Sarah, you've heard it, Christian. Oh, it's $10 a month. Or, it's $99 a month or whatever it is. I'm like, do you know what it was like back in the day, right? I'm sure Christian and Sarah, you remember maybe 15, 20 years ago, you had to use other tools, plug it to your digital camera, get the driver for Windows, connect the cable, hope it worked to stream stuff. Now, this stuff is like, boom. So, yes, these things cost, but I think we have to invest in our business to make money from it. So that side, that angle, please charge me a monthly fee, charge me an annual fee, if I can use it to make some more money.
Right.
Definitely. Yeah. And I want to just quickly bring up Sarah. I'm going to bring up your page here. So this is Sarah's page that she set up for Buy Me a Coffee. And obviously I put the link in there as well for signing up for Buy Me a Coffee. But, here's the thing. You can set up a page, and then somebody can choose if they want to give you 1, 3, 5 times, for example, that amount. And then you can just give them a nice note as well that goes along with it. So I love the idea of this. Again, it's a little bit that's going to help you here and there. $5, for example, if it's $5 a month, I'll throw this out there for those of you who are like, hey, you know what? I don't have the money to build a website, for example. There are, not to say like self-hosted webs, or not to say the hosted websites are like the best, but you know what? They cost $3 a month, for example. So then, you know what? Hey, you can give back to get back on something. So that way, if you're like, hey, I don't have the money on it, great, great product, for example, to, give you a little bit of extra spending money for, growing something of your business, but make sure you're appreciative of this sort of thing. Yeah. And then also want to throw out this comment from my friend Mel here. Says, you can also involve your audience. Once you reach X dollars, I'll do Y. Makes a lot of sense, actually, because then you could say, hey, you know what? Once I reach, like you could set up a percentage. Hey, you know what? If somebody gives me $5, $1 is going to go towards some sort of bank that then you then give back to your community on, and then you keep, $4 or something like that, or $3 and change and whatnot. So,
right.
Anything else you want to add about this tool? I mean, again, very, very useful, good tool.
It's a great, it's interesting to see how these business tools are mirroring some of the nonprofit tools that have been around for years. I mean, I've done crowdfunding fundraisers for nonprofits for at least 15 years. So this is a great way to just add that little way to support the businesses that you like, or the freelancers, or the people who are just getting started, to say, hey, I believe in what you're doing. Here's $5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can check out Buy Me Coffee, socialchefs.com/go/buy coffee. It's going to take you to the Buy Me Coffee site for that. But definitely check that out. Anything else you want to add about this tool? I mean, I like the fact that, like, I like these little micro payments. I mean, it's like setting out, we said it for Twitter tip jar, but it's like setting out a little tip jar in front of your business, even though you're virtual, for example. The one where, like, hey, somebody pays you, they buy a coffee for like a couple of dollars, and then there's some change. They throw the change in the tip jar. So love the idea there.
I think what I'd add to it is that the tool is only one half of the equation. The other half is people want to seriously use it. Bring the entertainment value. Do the call to action. So say it was on this show, we had it. You're not going to do it every day. I mean, every hour, every second. But everybody, don't forget, when you hear the bell, you can go to Buy Me a Coffee, Social Chefs Show. Everybody donates $5, like that. That's the kind of thing to bring into it. I live in the New York area, right? So we're used to entertainers. People get on the train. Those who just play the banjo, okay, whatever. But the person who's like coming to Sarah, her little baby or something, and, bringing up, hold up, here we go, saying, hey, little baby, Sarah's going to go $5. So bring something to it to get that money.
Excellent points.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Very cool. Well, I got to say, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join us for this week's show. I mean, it's just been awesome as usual having you join us. And Mel is a fan saying, yes, Ramon.
Thanks, Melanie.
So awesome. Fantastic. So I just have a couple of questions for you, Ramon. So if people want to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Sure. Best way, RamonRay.com. RamonRay.com. No Y, no N, no D, not Ramoncito, just RamonRay.com. Or SmartHustle.com. So really glad to serve, glad to help. And they can find content, as Sarah mentioned, to inspire and educate small business owners.
Fantastic. So Sarah, turn it over to you. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
People can find me across the web at sarahvt.com. SarahVT. It's my handle on all social media platforms. And just drop me a line, drop a comment. And I think I said last week, I'm still going through my Instagram identity crisis, and you can follow along with that.
And I'm Christian Karasiewicz at Social Chefs for this show, Social Chatter. But with that, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Again, blog post recap goes out this weekend, socialchefs.com/SC294. That'll give you the blog post recap. Again, there's a couple other topics that we didn't talk about today because we want to actually make sure we cover the main things and then put some of the smaller things out there for you to check out. Like, for example, there's a TikTok feature that's letting you preview some things, that Facebook embed option as well. And don't forget, we also have the Alexa flash briefing. If you want the 7 to 10 minute version of the show, by the way, it's literally just an audio option. Just go to socialchefs.com/Alexa. You can listen to it there. With that, we're going to see you all next Thursday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, early show with May King Sang. And that's going to be at here on YouTube, youtube.com/socialchefs or facebook.com/socialchefs. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.